Hey, what's up everybody? It is Friday, September 30th, end of the month, end of the quarter. We had some some really disturbing and I'm just going to say scary developments today on the geopolitical front that many of you are probably aware of. I think anyway, many of you are aware. I don't see too many people talking about it, which is even more frightening. So let me just mention that, okay, today Russia officially annexed the territories in eastern Ukraine, the ones that just voted in a referendum to join Russia. So that now officially Russia says that is a part of Russia, and any attacks on that area will be considered a direct attack on Russian territory. And the response to that, according to Putin and Russian officials, the response to that will be full-scale Russian military response. That's number one. At the same time, Zelensky signed an application for Ukraine's accession into NATO. So what we are seeing is a very significant and I think frightening and scary escalation in the situation, which I think is just going to lead to all-out war. I mean, there's no way in my mind that I could see Ukraine and NATO and the United States holding back from attacking now those territories which Russia claims to be its own territory. And that will invite a response at the level that Russia said it will respond, which is, full scale, all out. And there's been, even Russian officials, not Putin himself, but there's been officials that have said, hey, even Lavrov, foreign minister, said, that might include nuclear weapons. And if it goes nuclear, look, I just cannot believe this. This is beyond scary, beyond frightening. This is outrageous that we are here now. I mean, we are here at the very precipice of a major global World War III that would include nuclear weapons. I mean, we're literally talking about the survival of humanity, I should say the annihilation of humanity. I mean, this is like something out of a crazy movie, but it is actually happening right now. And, on both sides, I just see the level of insanity. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, will there be some cooler heads that come into the equation that calm things down? And it just keeps going in the opposite direction. We also got news recently that I think it was back in April. There were reports recently, just very recently, and maybe some of you have seen these reports, that back in April, Russia and Ukraine were hammering out a deal. They were hammering out a peace deal where essentially Putin had agreed to remove the troops, end the hostilities, remove the troops, if Ukraine agreed to be non-aligned and not apply for membership in NATO. That was a deal that was going on. And it's not just me saying that. It's been publicized in major media, mainstream media, Western media, Russian media, all over. And the deal was scuttled. Boris Johnson went over there and said to Zelensky, no, you can't do this. And this was probably Johnson, the puppet, was sent over there by the United States, by Washington, to say, we cannot have this deal. So we were this close to the whole thing, ending finally in April, and then it was blown apart. And speaking of blown apart, that's another thing that just happened recently, which is the destruction, the attack, the attacks, I should say plural, on Nord Stream pipeline 1 and 2, which basically ended those pipelines. And I don't know, maybe some of you have seen, it's been all over the internet recently, a White House press conference way back, I think it was way back in February, where President Biden was asked by a reporter in the White House, you know, something to the effect of what will happen to Nord Stream if Russia invades, and Biden says, if Russia invades, if they cross the line with tanks and you know, military and soldiers, there will be no Nord Stream. And the reporter went on and said, well, how can you do that? I mean, Nord Stream is under the control of Germany. And Biden basically said, with this kind of sly smile on his face, you know, I promise you, we can do that. It'll end. There will be no Nord Stream. And so they blew it up. Why would they blow it up? Because it was also reported recently that Germany, you know, they're having like huge protests in Germany by the general population, that people are, you know, and all over Europe, not just in Germany, but we're seeing anti-NATO protests, you know, in countries. In Germany, they're protesting about fuel costs, you know, naturally, because they went along with Washington in imposing the sanctions on Russia. And so it was reported that recently Germany was kind of getting, you know, a little bit cold feet or having second thoughts about continuing along with the United States and UK, you know, sanctions and basically war against Russia. They were going to pull out of the alignment because I think they were working behind the scenes with Putin, with the Russians to, you know, restore energy supplies. And so what happened? The United States, I have to assume it's the United States, it had to be a state actor that had the capability, and we're talking about a very, very complex and major operation. I mean, you have to locate the pipelines. The pipelines are they're built incredibly robust and strong. You know, it's like thick steel surrounded by concrete. They're built to survive underwater earthquakes and everything. It was blown up, according to a report I saw, at least 500 kilograms of TNT. There were 4 explosions. You need search vessels. You need these aircraft that have these electromagnetic sensors that can see where the pipelines are under the water. It was like a really complicated, really complex endeavor. They blew it up to scuttle the potential, you know, reconciliation between Germany and Russia. So like now, that puts Germany in a situation where what's the point of making up with Russia? What's the point with reestablishing relations? We're not going to get the gas from them now because they blew up the pipeline. So the escalation upon escalation upon escalation. And if you're not thinking about this, you're like, I guess, many other people out there who are not really thinking about this. They're just trying to live their lives on a daily basis. But like, we are right on the edge of major World War III, possibly nuclear war. Very possibly and likely nuclear war. So let me segue to the market now. First, I want to say, and I'll be honest with you here. I'll be totally honest with you here. I was shocked at the decline today. As you know, I put out a video yesterday. I said we're going to probably see a rally. We've seen now the last 4 days. I'm counting today because I know that it was a net positive flow of about 64 billion because today the normal first of the month payments went out today because tomorrow is the first of the month, but that's a Saturday. If it falls on a weekend, then they send out those payments. I'm talking about Medicare, Medicaid, military pay, veterans benefits, you know, disability, all those first of the month payments, that's like 100 billion. It's like a net positive flow of 64 billion. The last 4 days, okay, that means today, Thursday, Wednesday, and Tuesday has seen a net positive flow of 100 billion, okay? 100 billion, and the market tanked. And I'll be totally honest with you, I was shocked. Shocked. It doesn't, to me, you know, that is kind of like something that I have never seen before, because, you know, this is my model, these flows, and they're very, very consistent. 500 down today. I don't know if it was something technical like end of the quarter and people selling. Somebody told me it was some big hedge fund rolling over some bearish position or something like that. But even so, I will admit, I was shocked, because the last 4, you know, we have now flipped back. The government balance has now flipped back into a deficit, which is good because now it's net adding funds, it's net adding balances to the economy again after sucking it out over the course of this month, you know. And we're only like, I mean, we got like 54 billion left to recover from what was sucked out over the course of this month. Remember, we went from like 155 billion drain to now the total drain is like 55 billion. We had 100 billion positive flow come in the last 4 days. And I thought for sure we'll see a rally today, and we tried. And then look, we ended up really, really weak. Really, really weak. So, and I'll give it until Monday, because sometimes it does take a day or two after we see these positive flows. You know, the money goes in the banking system. It's the end of the week. It's Friday. But even so, I have to say that, number one, I'll repeat, it's something I have never seen before. You know, and this flows model is very, very consistent. And I've given you actual dates of when things were going to happen. And by the way, you can go back to June. I said September is going to be very bad. I said that, okay, because of the corporate tax payment. And the reason why I was looking for a bounce here is because I knew the flows would start coming back in positive, which they did, 100 billion. So I have to chalk it up. I'm chalking it up to fear over this escalation of the war and the what that represents. I mean, that is like, if that goes, you can forget everything economic. You could shut my channel off, because it makes no sense at all. That would be something beyond anything we can discount, you know, economically, beyond anything we can handicap economically. That's the end. That's finished. That'll be escalation to a point of nuclear annihilation. And frankly, I think that's what the market is focusing on. I could be wrong. You know, some people are saying, oh, we're going to have like a Lehman event because they're raising the rates. You know, I do not see that. Okay, I do not see liquidity issues. If anything, I see the banks still putting reserves into the reverse repo facility. They don't want them. That was not the case back in the Lehman situation. You had, you know, reserves went way down. Like everything was tight, tight, tight. I mean, there's so much now that they keep putting them into the reverse repo facility. They don't want them. It's too much. By the way, on that note, I looked at bank loans, up 40, I think it was up 46 billion in the week ending September 21st, I think it was. Huge, huge. That's the biggest increase in 3 months. Loans are now growing at the fastest rate in 14 years. And don't come at me with the comment, yeah, Mike, well, people need money. You know, they're out of money. No, banks don't just give you money because you need it, okay? You have to qualify for it, which means you have to have the income to be able to pay back the loan. The banks check your income, and you got to have, you know, a decent balance sheet, which means not too much debt to income ratio. All right, so if they're giving out loans like this, it's not because they feel sorry for you and you're needy. No. Banks are businesses. They got to make money, and when they make loans, they're very, very cautious for the most part. So that's the update, and you know, we got to be following this Ukraine situation. This is bad, bad, bad. I mean, it's bad. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, it makes everything market, economics, like so secondary, it's ridiculous. This is bad. This is really, really bad. And I just hope to God, you know, that some cooler heads step into the situation now and say, you know what, we got to calm things down. We got to stop this craziness, because we're literally talking about the survival of the human race. I'm a #1 target right here in New York. That's one of the first things that'll get hit. But they're not going to be lobbing nukes over here in the United States. But we'll see it like in Europe. We'll see it in Ukraine. We may see it in Germany, Poland. And, you know, NATO's going to respond. It's bad. People, it's bad. I don't know how else to... I can't emphasize it any more than that. Anyway, sorry to end on such a negative note. It's a Friday. But, like, very, very upset about this. Very upset about this. We'll deal with the market next week. Again, we had 100 billion positive net flow in the last 4 days. The market went down. I've never seen that happen before. I'm very confident when it comes to telling you what's going to happen based on these flows. And look, it could, you know, there could be a little bit of a delay. Sometimes there is, but no more than a day or two. I mean, now we're 4 days in. Okay, let's call it 3 days in, because today just happened. You know, that 64 billion flow just happened today. But, you know, by Monday, by Tuesday for sure. I mean, if this thing is still going, then you know, something's going on, and I really think it has to do with the Ukraine situation, which is terrible and frightening. That's it for today, folks. I hope to see you on Monday. I hope. All right. Bye.